Hi, welcome to my channel, Her EXP. In this video today, I want to share about ego never dies when we are here, and I would like to share with you how it is a good thing. So I heard this concept of ego death, ego should die, ego death must happen, and such type of sentences, concepts during my spiritual awakening journey, and it it was like so much of confusion for me because I was here always operating with my ego, whereas they're saying it must die, it should die. It's like ego should not be there at all. So I felt like if ego is not there, then what is in charge of this body and mind? They are saying true self will express through this body and mind. That's why ego should die and so on. Ego is like a program which is self-conditioning, self-learning, self-knowing, self-developing, and it was at a very basic level when this individual consciousness entered into this life to express here. It was a very basic level. It was at a very basic level, and it evolves slowly with the help of the information. And the information can come from anywhere, either externally or internally. So for some time when we are like infants, we will get information from inside and we will operate with it. This ego will operate with it. And when we are growing up, we take the information externally too, from parents, neighbors, society, friends, and ego will evolve based on that information through self-conditioning, self-developing, and it will arrive at a sense. Now this sense should match with our true self. For that purpose, only we have ego here, which is managing this body and mind. If it dies, then what is that going to operate this body and mind? So it is then I understood that ego is not dying. Ego is aligning with our true self in its actions, be it physical actions or mental actions. Now ego is in alignment with the true self so that our true self can express here through this body and through this mind. That means ego is not dying there. Ego is aligning with our true self. It is created, or it got evolved from that basic level to that level for this purpose only. The sense of self that we are doing right now, this self-knowing, is coming from the ego only. Right now, I am talking to you, this I. This sense is coming from the ego only. Ego is knowing about itself. It has that capability. That's called evolving of ego. Ego is getting evolved. This is human ego. And we have beings with advanced forms of ego also. And this individual consciousness, after expressing here, they go to their world, where they will again have some forms and they operate there, and their ego is even more evolved than human ego, and that's a different thing. And all these are also from that consciousness only. However, there is a separation, like different worlds we have. And here we are in this human ego. Ego is a self-learning program which is learning from the information coming from the true self. That's what we are going to do during our spiritual awakening journey. Before that, it is necessary to take traumas and conditioning also. You can think of it as like a correction software, a grammar correction software, where we will feed a paragraph with errors, mistakes, and that software will take the paragraph and it will correct the paragraph, and that correction knowledge comes from the information and programming done by the engineers, and it will make the necessary corrections and give it back to us. Here also, ego is like a self-correction software where with the help of the information and knowledge coming from our individual consciousness or true self or soul, it will correct itself. What are the false conditioning parts in this body and mind? What are the correct parts? What trauma is creating obstacle for this true self's expression here? And that entire management of this body and mind, those actions now comes from the true self when we when we are awakening spiritually, so that ego can eliminate the errors coming from the society, coming from the past generations, and allow our true self to align, allow our true self to express here for its higher purpose here, or for any purpose that it wants to express here. So all these things, ego learns by itself with the information coming from the individual consciousness, and it will evolve to a stage where it is going to align with our true self in its actions, mental actions, physical actions. Now, true self can express here for its higher purpose with the help of this ego. Ego is a manager of this body and mind, and it is in perfect alignment. It may not be a perfect, but proper alignment with our true self. Here and there, some deviations can happen, and it will stay within the limits of our true self. And when it is time for our complete self-realization, this ego is going to realize this true self completely. And then after this complete realization, that energy, that individual consciousness, it will rise up all through the chakras, and enlightenment process will happen. And what is that experiencing this enlightenment is, ego is observing the process like, okay, individual consciousness is experiencing this enlightenment, and at the same time this ego is also sensing it. Right now I'm sharing with you all those experiences is because of the understanding of the ego. When that process was happening in me, it was sensing everything. And later, during my integration process, it learns and it understands the things, what happened at the time, what is happening right now. All those things is like understanding the process. Now, ego is still learning, coming from the information coming from my true self. So right now I'm saying I means this ego talking about ego. It's like a chat assistant, virtual chat assistant, where it has knowledge of itself. It says, I am so and so, I am for this purpose. So like that we have knowledge, like that the virtual chat assistants will have knowledge of themselves. They are programmed that way. Here, this ego is like evolving to that stage. And after enlightenment also, now you see, ego is here. I am so and so. I am that. I am this. This is still happening and it is coming from my ego, but it is aligning with the true self expression here. That means true self is expressing this way, like ego should explain about true self here, and ego should say about ego here. Ego is a self-learning program. What is saying that? Ego is saying that. Now, ego is talking about ego. Now, ego talking about true self will be like this. So, my true self is like, my true self wants to. These are ego talking about true self. And true self wants this ego to say these things. And it is an expression of true self. As ego is a self-learning, self-conditioning, self-knowing, this is a bit difficult to understand before. However, now we have so many softwares and virtual assistants, so we gain knowledge about this self-running programs, self-training programs. So the ego is also like that, and it conditions itself to align with the true self, and that's how true self is expressing here with this body, this mind. And the ego is the manager of this body and mind, and this ego is in alignment with the true self. So after enlightenment also, we are living with this ego. Ego is in alignment with our true self. And with that alignment only, our true self is expressing here. And ego's actions are, be it physical and mental actions. These are not the actions coming from the traumas and conditioning anymore. The corrections were done. Now ego arrived at like a corrected version where it is supposed to align with the true self in its actions. And now that part is being done by the ego. It's like ego giving back to us the corrected version of the ego. Whereas there, the software is taking a paragraph, it is correcting a paragraph and giving it back to us. Whereas ego is a self-doing program, self-conditioning program, self-training program. So ego itself develop itself or evolve into something where it aligns with our true self, and now operating here again as a corrected version. Now true self can easily express here because ego is in align with the true self. So this is all a process which happens for me, you, and everyone in this world, from a basic level of ego to an advanced version of ego where it aligns with our true self, and our true self can express here. Before this spiritual awakening journey, it is taking trauma conditioning is also a process that must happen. In this world, in this human form, no one is here without any traumas, without any conditioning. No. So ego must go through that process, basic level, and then conditioning itself, training itself, knowing itself, and all such self-actions coming from the trauma and condition. And true self will allow it to do so for a reason, for correction purpose, and also for its expression here for its higher purpose. If it is not going through such traumas and conditioning, there will be so many higher purposes coming from that trauma and conditioning also too. However, now that the trauma and conditioning is like a memory, but not like ego is doing actions with its instruction or with it directly connected with it. It is in connection with the true self and now doing the actions. But before, it was doing actions connected with the trauma and conditioning. Now, after enlightenment, the trauma and conditioning will be like a memory, and it will be in connection with our true self to do its actions here for managing this body and mind. To arrive at that stage, it has to do again a lot of actions where it can condition this body, this mind to align with the true self's expression here. If an individual consciousness wants to express here as a fitness trainer, then that ego should condition itself to take the information from that true self about this higher purpose, and it must prepare this body and mind to do such actions. That means this body should undergo fitness training here, and also diet-based training, and all those actions should be done. And ego is like a manager of this body and mind doing such actions. And once it is done, one action is completed. One part of the true self is revealed to the ego. It is realized by the ego. And now, the true self is a collection of energies. It's not like a single energy. It's a collection of energies. And true self wants to express as some other way also, with the same body, same mind, not just as a fitness trainer. So now, ego should condition itself based on the information, and it should evolve into something like this body and mind. It will evolve this body and mind also based on the actions, and then this body and mind go through a change, and then it will arrive at a state where now another part of the true self is revealed, and ego will know that with the process of self-knowing. So like this, all the parts of the true self will be revealed to the ego or realized by the ego, and it gets a sense of this true self. When it gets the sense of true self completely, enlightenment will happen. The process will be initiated by this individual consciousness. It will raise through the chakras, and all those things will happen, and enlightenment will be experienced by this ego, that sensing thing here. And once it is finished, it will gain knowledge about it again. What happened? Why is it happening? For what purpose? So it will be like a shock actually for some who gets enlightened, because for some it happens so smoothly, and for some it will be like so shocking. And after that also, this ego is operating here. And when the purposes of this individual consciousness are completed, or it expressed here the way it wants to express here, when it is all completed, that means all the actions after enlightenment also completed, then our true self will undergo a process of liberation now. So when we say liberation, again, just like during our enlightenment, this ego can understand this process of liberation. True self is going through a process of liberation now. And it will also give a knowledge that it is going to be dismantled after the liberation of the individual consciousness. And that's why some enlightened beings, they will share that they are going to end this thing, and they are going to liberate it. They are already enlightened, and they came back here. They are doing some actions here as part of their higher purpose. And when time comes, they will also share about their liberation. And it is their ego that has knowledge of this entire process, like self-knowing. Their ego can know by itself about this process, about all these processes. And after liberation, this ego is dismantled. or it won't be in operation like a manager of this body and mind anymore. This body will be decomposed into this nature, and in the same way, the body and mind, the thoughts will become the part of this consciousness. This body also becoming the part of this consciousness, and the purpose of ego is completed. That's why the ego will be like stopped working. And with that, everything is completed. So up to that point, this ego will continue to operate. It's like a manager. But before, it was taking information from trauma and conditioning, and before that, it was taking information from our true self only when we are infants, when it is a very basic program, when it is in a very basic stage. And again, after taking the trauma and conditioning is completed, from divine intervention, from the individual consciousness only it comes, our spiritual awakening journey starts. And it will start depending on the context. People go through different experiences for this process to happen. The context will be different for different people, and there will be similarities of these contexts among the people. So from that basic level up to liberation, the ego is always there. It will be there always. It was always there. Well, before this spiritual awakening journey, while we are spiritually awakening, while we are experiencing the enlightenment, after experiencing the enlightenment and living in integration, and after all this integration, doing our higher purposes, and up to the point of liberation, the ego is doing its purpose, is operating based on its purpose. So from this experience of my understanding of the things happening, this ego could understand that ego is always there before, while we are spiritual awakening, during our enlightenment, during my integration. And I felt like I was sitting there and contemplating on this, and I've been getting the information on this. And up to the liberation, this ego, this human ego, will be in operation. And if our individual consciousness is from a world where it has a form there also, then it will operate that ego, very well evolved ego. Now it's not the context of human ego here. So that's a different thing, and I'm talking about here human ego. So ego never dies in my experience, and ego is always there, and we need that. Ego is needed for ego, for the existence here, for the expression of individual consciousness here, with this body and this mind. And we operate based on this. Ego is like a self-operating program. It operates itself, this body, this mind, the actions, physical actions, mental actions, and after all of this, the ego will be dismantled when it is time for liberation. After the liberation, like once the liberation is completed, the ego will be dismantled. So that's what I experienced, and that's what the information I got regarding this ego. So the ego death, ego dies, ego should die, ego must die. I didn't find any meaning in that based on my experience. So I wanted to share in this video about that. And if this information helps you in your spiritual awakening journey, and you are also sensing things differently compared to these sentences, then you can sit there and in meditation or journaling and ask for the information, guidance from your true self so that it can provide the information to you. I am sharing this here because with the knowledge only we can ask our true self. The external knowledge we take and we will try to validate that internally with the help of our true self, and we will take that new information and put it there in our knowledge bank. So I just try to share my experience here in this video um, in, in a thought of it will help you in your spiritual awakening journey too, in discovering your true self, complete true self. And if this video helped you in some way, please hit the like button. And if you want to share anything, or if you want to comment your experience, just comment below. And if you're new to this space, subscribe to the channel for more videos. I think I've shared what I wanted to share for this video. Thanks for watching. Namaste.